Have you ever wondered what the best pickup in a Les Paul is? Me too! So today begins round one of the Les Paul Pickup Showdown. People ask me all the time, do you play all of these guitars? And the answer is yes. If you saw me sped up all night, all I would be doing is taking different guitars back and forth, seeing if I like the neck better on this one, if I like the pickup better on this one, do I like the fretboard on this one? That's me. I'm neurotic, hence the name, the Neurotic Guitarist. So I really wanted to figure out what pickup sounds best to my ears and to your ears in a Les Paul. And when I started looking up all the different Gibson pickup models, I realized almost every single thing you will find in a Les Paul stock from Gibson is a PAF clone. It's a pickup that starts with the patent applied for 1950s style pickup that made all of those old Les Pauls so coveted. The pickup with the little water slide sticker that says patent applied for. That means it's gonna be really expensive. Even finding a pair of PAFs on the aftermarket, we're looking at over $8,000. Holy crap. And it's not like Gibson hasn't made newer pickups since then. They had the T-tops, they had the patent number pickups, they had the dirty fingers pickups, all kinds of stuff. But people have become obsessed with the PAF. In the 70s, a lot of people didn't like the pickups that were coming stock in their Les Pauls, so Larry DiMarzio thought, I need to make the perfect PAF clone. At the time when Gibson came out with PAFs, they weren't marketing them as, oh, check out our new PAF pickup, it's amazing. They were just a pickup in the lap steel, or pickup in the ES-175 or the Les Paul. That was it. It wasn't until much later when people realized, wow, those pickups from the 50s, they really do sound better than anything. Larry made his career starting with that, with his Super Distortion pickup, which has the two white bobbin, the double cream. They're PAF clones. In 1978, Larry DiMarzio trademarked PAF. In 1981, he actually got the trademark for the double white bobbin. So if you see double white pickups that are a certain kind of cream color, that has been trademarked since 1981 from DiMarzio. Now, Gibson's trying to fight it because they're saying that, first and foremost, Gibson was making PAF pickups before Larry DiMarzio ever started winding pickups. Those pickups, a lot of them were double white, even though they were covered up. As many of you may know, you can take the pickup covers off and you can find either double black, zebra, so white and black, or double white PAFs. So they were doing it long before DiMarzio was a thing. What they're saying now to overturn the trademark is that the white color, not only is it a standard color of plastic that they use for pickups, but that it's a functional thing. That people match the color of their pickups to their guitars for aesthetic reasons, again, making it functional. And you can't trademark functionality. You can only trademark proprietary things. The PAF pickup is not only one of the most expensive and coveted pickups in history, but it's something that even 50 years later, DiMarzio and Gibson are still fighting over it. I'm not a lawyer. I'll leave it to all of them. I just love PAF pickups and PAF style pickups. And in the 1940s, Gibson was extremely innovative in that they developed the Alnico magnet, which is cobalt, nickel, and aluminum. And Alnico magnets are found in so many different pickup designs today. In 1946, you have Walter Fuller perfecting the P90 pickup. The PAF was a humbucker. What's a humbucker? Seth Lover and Walter Fuller wanted to buck the hum that they heard from single coils. In other words, that 60 hertz that sounds like it's gonna electrocute you. Yeah, they wanted that gone. And the way they were able to do that was to wire two coils together electrically out of phase with reversed magnetic polarities. Yeah? You just gotta reverse the magnetic polarity and you're gonna buck the hum, man! In 1955, Seth Lover applied for the patent that you know as the patent applied for pickups. The first pickup showing up in 1956 in some lap steels without the famous water slide sticker. So those are the really, really early ones, and I don't think they had the nickel covers on them yet. And then by 1957, you had the PAF officially show up on the ES-175. And it's been history ever since. People love the PAF pickup. All three of the guitars that I'm going to show you have pickups that are based on the patent applied for design. And just so you know, they applied for the patent in 1955, and by 1959, they got the patent. And they call those pickups after 1961 patent number pickups. Smart guy, smart! We have the 2019 Les Paul high performance model with the Burstbucker Pro pickups, which are said to be just like PAFs, except with more brilliance and bite. okay? They use Alnico 5 magnets and they're actually wax potted, which is interesting because PAF pickups weren't originally wax potted, which is supposed to reduce the microphonic noise. Then we have this 2007 Guitar of the Week, the Les Paul Autumn Burst Supreme with the 490-498, which is supposed to be a more modern take on the PAF with Alnico 2 magnets with enhanced highs. So modern, classic. And lastly, we have this 2001 Les Paul Custom Shop Florentine, which comes with 257 Classics, which were actually the first PAF clones made by Gibson in 1990. They came out with the Burstbuckers in 2002. So let's give a quick rundown of each of these guitars before we have them duke it out in a battle to the death. Some night in late 2018, early 2019, I couldn't sleep and I stayed up all night studying the differences between the 2018 and 2019 Gibson models. They had just introduced this color, Seafoam Fade. I can absolutely say that's what kept me up all night, was thinking about this color, because this was the first guitar I bought brand new, full price, just because I had to have the Seafoam Fade with the clear knobs. There was just something about it that blew my mind. You got a beautiful AAA top. Look at all of those sap lines, so sexy. These clear knobs that are all push-pulls, they do a ton of different things. You have the Burstbucker Pro pickups. No pick guard, no poker chip, just how I like it. With a rich light fretboard, they were doing that at this time, which I don't mind. I actually think that it feels great, it looks great. It's nice and smooth, it'll last forever. You have mother of pearl inlays, which anyone that knows me knows I am a glutton for mother of pearl. So I love the fact that this has real mother of pearl. It makes it look sharp. I actually like this nut. I think it's cool. We have the metal HP truss rod cover and your normal Gibson headstock. On the back, you have locking Grover tuners, which are a nice accessory. And now this is where the modern side of it comes in, because you have this really, really cool neck carve, which you find on the Les Paul Access. Not to be confused with the new neck carve you find on the Les Paul Supreme. That's not quite this. And on the back plate, we have all the different things you can do if you go inside it and change all the dip switches, which I'll never do. Now, one thing that's to be noted about this guitar is it has a super wide fretboard, just a little bit wider than most Les Pauls, which I didn't think was a big deal, but when I got this guitar sent to me, I certainly shunned it for a long time because it just felt weird. Even though I love this neck carve, even though it sounds and plays really good, there was something disconcerting to me about how wide this fretboard. I ended up buying this Les Paul Les Plus, which also has a super, super wide fretboard. And for whatever reason, this guitar really resonated with me. And then when I went back to play this Les Paul High Performance, I realized I had become accustomed to the wider fretboard with my Les Paul Les Plus. And now I love this guitar. But if you are looking to get a Les Paul High Performance, make sure you play something with a fretboard this wide first because it feels different. Next on our list is a 2007 Guitar of the Week Autumn Burst Supreme. What an interesting guitar. They made 400 of these things. The one thing I will say is most of the Supremes from this time period have the greatest tops. These ones in particular tend to have a little bit of a weaker top, but I love the feature, so I'm over it. Let's take a peek. You got a 4A top with the 490 and 498 pickups, all gold hardware. You have these gold frets, which are really just the nickel taken out of them, which give them that gold color, which makes them 20% stronger. The new Supremes actually don't have these gold frets. You have an ebony fretboard with no inlays, which is really weird and super cool to me. And then like all the Supremes from this time period, you have the gold Les Paul truss rod cover and you have the globe that says Supreme on the headstock. Now this one has started clouding, which is actually typical of this time period, and it will probably continue to kind of crack and do this, but whatever. You have Grover tuners, not locking like the HP, but still cool. And you have this beautiful, beautiful 3A maple back. I actually think the back is nicer than the top, but it's cool that they have quilt on the front, tiger on the back. I saw this guitar at Guitar Center. It just sat on the wall for months. When I finally told them to take it down and let me play it, the neck was warped. The strings were all oxidized. It was gross, like it had been sitting around and no one had touched it since 2007. It sold a few weeks later, much to my dismay. I came in like a week or two later and they told me that the guy had returned it. Of course, it still had the same crappy strings with the same bow in the neck, which makes total sense, which is why I told them, don't worry, I'll take it off your hands. And I made them an offer of $1,800 and they took it. Even a few years ago, I'd say $1,800 for an Autumn Burst Supreme. Only 400 in the world. Not a bad score. Definitely one of the most unique Supremes I've seen. Lastly, we have a custom shop Les Paul Florentine from 2001. This model was originally known as the Bantam Elite, but I believe Washburn had a guitar with the same name out, so Gibson changed it to the Florentine, which, as my buddy Jeff Curran says, it's kind of a misnomer because when you think Florentine, you think of like the sharper Florentine cutaway, essentially a Les Paul custom with a 4A top and these F-holes. Not to be confused with the ES Les Paul. The ES Les Paul is not a custom shop Les Paul, and it has a laminate top. This is a solid, thick piece of beautiful flame maple. I have to say that this 4A top might be the nicest top on any of my Les Pauls. I absolutely love these black top hat knobs. They're really classy. You get all the gold hardware, 57 pickups. Look at the chevron patterns, the up and downs and the left and right. I mean, you can get lost in this top. No pick guard, although you do have the poker chip, which I should probably take off because I hate those. You have the ebony fretboard with the nice, beautiful, big block mother of pearl. And you have the typical Les Paul custom headstock with Les Paul custom on the truss rod cover. On the back, you got these Grover tuners, the Gibson custom shop logo. Typical Les Paul custom with the binding all over it. Take a peek at how thick the top is on this. It's got to be a solid inch of maple up there. You can see how thick those F-holes are. And it's chambered, so it's nice and light. So we got the high performance against the Supreme, against the Florentine, with the Burstbuckers versus the 490, 498, and the 57 Classics. I made this demo the other day so I could actually watch and listen back obsessively so I would really know which one sounded better versus just how I felt about it at that time. There are so many times I've done demos and it felt really good and it seemed great, and then all of a sudden I get back and I listen to it and it didn't sound how I remember. Check out this first one. I'm playing through my Kemper, this nice clean arpeggiated thing. Take a peek. So the first thing I'm going to say is that all of these pickups sound great. It's no surprise to me because I love these Les Pauls, and as I've gotten older, I realize the more and more I absolutely just love Gibson pickups. So the Burstbuckers are supposed to be the patent applied for tone with more bite and brilliance. I would say they have more bass too. They just sound like they have a little bit more of everything. Those are the Alnico 5 magnets, which are a little bit hotter than the Alnico 2 magnets you'll find in the 490, 498, and you'll also find in the 57 Classics. The 490, 498 sound cool. They have a nice chime, and I do love the butter on the rhythm. I will say they compress a little bit differently, especially on the bass, than the Burstbuckers and the 57s. And then lastly, the 57 Classics, they're supposed to just have kind of a warm tone, and the thing I will say is that they cut more than any of them. The 57 Classics have substantially less bass than either the Burstbucker Pros or the 490, 498. And they just seem to have that kind of mid-growl to them that just cuts right through the mix. The next thing up, I wanted to check out, some strummy strums. Hear how it sounds sitting around the campfire with your Les Paul. Take a listen. Let me know what you think. gotta say, I don't really use the middle position that often on a Les Paul. I'm just kill, die, kill. I have to say those Burstbuckers really shine for me. Just sounds like they have a whole different spectrum of sound. It's like the guy that goes over to the stereo and goes, hey, I just want to turn up the mids and then the highs and then the lows, which just make it louder. It works with those Burstbucker Pros. Well, what does it sound like with some distortion? Let me know what you think. Where I definitely love the Burstbucker Pros the most in the clean demos, the 57s shine through for me. They have a real nice cut. The 490, 498 tend to be kind of in the middle. They certainly have more butter on the rhythm, but they don't have quite the same cut as either the 57 or the Burstbuckers to my ears. Now, let's put it through the metal test. The metal! When you're playing, metal or heavy stuff and you have all that chuggity, chuggity, chug, sometimes it gets a little bit muddy. Those 57s are so clear and articulate, and certainly they're most consistent across the board. You can tell that these are the same pickups. The 490 and 498, they're probably my least favorite of the three, but I like them all. But they don't quite have the balls of the Burstbucker Pros, and they don't have the cut of the 57s. Which do you like the best? The 57 Classics in this 2001 Florentine, the Burstbucker Pros in this 2019 high performance Les Paul, or the 490, 498 you'll find in this 2007 Guitar of the Week Autumn Burst Supreme. What Les Paul do you guys want to see next in the Les Paul Pickup Showdown? Why don't you smash that subscribe button already?